800,000. That's how many working shamans there are in South Korea right now. 1 in every 160 Koreans. Most of them are women. And every single one claims to talk to the dead. Disney Plus has a show in Korea called Battle of Fates. 10 episodes that aired on Disney Plus Korea, then crossed to Hulu in the US in March 2026. 49 of these women compete for the title of Most Accurate Fate Reader in Korea. The prize, about $75,000 US. The missions are not normal. They identify the cause of death of strangers. They find people worth 10 billion won in a lineup of regular Koreans. They console grieving parents by speaking with their dead children on camera, live. It's the most watched Korean show on Disney Plus. You can watch it on Hulu. Right now, every country has people like this. Siberia has shamans. Haiti has voodoo priestesses. West Africa has babalawo. Brazil has pai de santo. Romania has fortune tellers and caravans. Korea's version is different. The most expensive ones charge $10,000 US per session. You can't book them. You have to know somebody who knows somebody. Then you wait 6 months. Corporate executives are on the wait list. K-pop entertainment companies are on the wait list. And one of these 800,000 women is in my family. She told me to stay away from water. That was 3 months before I almost drowned. In the next 17 minutes, an anonymous Korean is going to explain how a country with 5G in its subways became the world capital of women who talk to ghosts, and why none of us think it's strange. By the way, I'm the anonymous Korean. The stuff your guidebook won't tell you about Korea. Please, subscribe. Korean shamans don't apply for the job. The job applies to them, and if they refuse, the consequences are physical. It usually starts with the body. A man in his 30s begins waking up at 3 a.m. with chronic pain no doctor can diagnose. A college student starts seeing relatives who died years ago sitting in her kitchen. A housewife loses her appetite for months. She hears voices. She can't sleep. Korean families have a word for what's happening. Sinbyeong, spirit sickness. And they know exactly what comes next. Sinbyeong was listed in the American Psychiatric Association's DSM-4 as a culture-bound syndrome. The DSM-5, the global standard published in 2013, quietly removed it. Korean psychiatrists still see it weekly. The pain doesn't improve. The visions intensify. Korean tradition is clear about what happens. The god takes a life if it doesn't get a body. Family members beg the person to accept the calling. Some accept, some refuse. The ones who refuse don't tend to last long. In the West, a person hearing voices is sent to a hospital. In Korea, a person hearing voices is sent to a senior Mudang for evaluation. If the diagnosis is confirmed, and confirmation here means an experienced shaman looking at you and saying, "Yes, this is what's happening," the family contacts a senior Mudang to perform an initiation ritual. It's called Naerimgut, the descent ritual. Over several hours, sometimes days, the senior Mudang invokes spirits, dances, beats drums, chants until the room shakes. At some point, the initiate enters a trance. A spirit enters their body, and they begin to speak in a voice that is not theirs. After that, they are a Mudang for life. There are 2 main types: Gang Shinmu, the chosen ones, the ones spirit sickness picked; Sesumu, the hereditary ones. The job runs in the family. They train from childhood. The chosen ones used to be a minority. Today, they're the majority, and growing fast. Korea right now produces thousands of new shamans every year, which raises a question. Why is spirit sickness contagious in modern times? There's a tier of shaman in Korea that you cannot find on Google. You cannot book them online. You cannot pay your way in. They don't have websites. They don't have phone numbers listed anywhere. You have to know somebody. Who knows somebody? Who has the introduction? And after the introduction is vouched for, by 2 or 3 people minimum, you wait 6 months for an appointment. When you finally sit down across from her, the session costs roughly $10,000. This is not folk religion. This is the most exclusive luxury service in South Korea. Corporate CEOs go. Movie stars go. K-pop entertainment company executives go before major debuts, and they keep going back. That's the top tier. The middle tier is more accessible. A standard ritual, what's called a gut, runs $300 to $3,000. A consultation runs $40 to $100. Some Seoul neighborhoods have entire streets of working shamans. Red flags hanging from second-floor balconies. Storefronts with painted symbols. You can walk 1 block in certain districts and pass 12 Mudang offices. It looks like a row of dental clinics, except they specialize in spirits. The most famous one is Myeori in northern Seoul. It's been the country's shaman district for over 50 years. And here's the strange detail you won't find in any guidebook. Most of the fortune tellers in Myeori are blind. They went blind young, trained for decades, and now run a closed-off market that won't let sighted competitors in. The core service is gut, the ritual. It involves dance, drums, chanting, costume changes, and trance. It can last 2 hours or 2 days. During the ritual, the Mudang invokes spirits to heal illness, ward off bad luck, or speak with dead relatives. Yes, actually speak. The client sits there while their dead grandmother gives advice through a stranger's mouth. Most Korean families have, at minimum, an aunt who has done this. And then there's the spectacle. Senior Mudang sometimes perform what's called knife dance. They stand barefoot on the edges of 2 sharpened metal blades suspended above the ground. They dance. They don't bleed. Korean shamans have been doing this for centuries. Skeptics have studied it. Western journalists have filmed it. No one has yet explained why it works. The colors of a Mudang's robe are not aesthetic. Red robes call generals. Yellow calls grandmothers. Blue calls nobility. Each color is a frequency. Wedding consulting, business consulting, death consulting, full-stack ghost services. A quick detour, because you keep hearing the word Saju. It means 4 pillars. The Korean version of astrology, except the math is older and the system is denser. Your birth year, your birth month, your birthday, your birth hour. 4 pillars, 8 characters. Each character maps to one of the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, water, and one of 2 polarities, yin or yang. The combinations produce roughly 18,000 possible birth charts, and every Korean's birth chart, in theory, predicts the outline of their life. When to marry, when to start a business, when to expect illness, when to avoid water. Saju is not religious. There are Saju practitioners who are strictly atheist. It's a system, 1,000 years old, run on numbers. And in 2026, it's the most widely consulted divination practice in Korea. More than Mudang readings, more than tarot. 70% of Koreans consulted a fortune teller at least once last year. The industry is worth 1.4 trillion won, about $1 billion US. Most of it paid in cash. Now back to the people who use it. Here's the thing most foreigners don't realize. Most Koreans who visit a shaman don't actually believe in shamans. They go for fun. The way Americans get their palms read at a county fair. It's a Friday night activity, a girls' night thing, a first date thing, Korean Christians do it. Korean atheists do it. K-pop fans do it before exams. Couples go to check their Saju compatibility before getting engaged. It's like a dating app, except the algorithm is 1,000 years old. The country has detached belief from practice. It's just entertainment that happens to be real. Which is why Disney Plus made a show about it. Battle of Fates, 10 episodes, 49 contestants, working shamans, tarot readers, Saju masters, face readers, even physiognomists, real practitioners with paying clients, not actors. One contestant, Yoon Daemon, born in Ansan in 1991, spent 23 years studying traditional Korean music at Seoul Gugak Arts High School before becoming a shaman 5 years ago. He won. First place, 100 million won. The final mission was called Battle of Seoul. The client was a father, Jung Jae-yong, who had lost his daughter Yerim to Marfan syndrome. Live, on camera, Yoon read the Saju chart and identified that Yerim had been born with a fragile body and a shortened lifespan that previous shamans had tried to extend through ritual. Then he channeled her spirit. Through Yoon's mouth, the daughter spoke. She said the words her father had spent years waiting to hear. Final tally, 173 out of 200. Reservations to consult Yoon Daemon are now booked until 2029. Disney Plus said it became their most watched Korean original. The hashtag exploded. Korean dating apps reported a surge in users asking for Saju compatibility readings the week after the finale. This isn't religion. This isn't even spirituality in the Western sense. This is Korea's most watched entertainment. 20 years ago, there were 200,000 shamans in Korea. Today, there are 800,000. In the same 20 years, Korea became the 11th richest country on Earth. So the country got richer, and the shaman industry quadrupled. 1997, IMF crisis. 2008, global crash. 2015, Seoul housing triples. 2020, pandemic. 2023, youth unemployment hits double digits. Every time uncertainty spiked, the shaman industry spiked with it, and the demographics changed. In the 1990s, the typical Mudang client was a middle-aged woman from a rural town. In 2026, the typical Mudang client is a 26-year-old office worker in Gangnam. Coding bootcamp graduates, Samsung engineers, people who got their first job through a Saju reading. Young women in their 20s run TikTok shaman accounts with millions of views. They stream rituals live. This is the most modern profession in Korea, sold by the oldest one. Now here's where Korean shamanism becomes its own category. In Siberia, the shaman's spirit leaves the body and travels to the spirit world. In the Amazon, the same. The shaman becomes a vehicle for a journey outward. In Haitian, Vodou, and West African traditions, possession happens, but the spirit lasts only moments. Korean Mudang work in the opposite direction. The spirit comes in. It enters their body, and it stays. Korean shamans don't visit the spirit world. The spirit world visits them. Why only Korea? 1,000 years of religious layering. Confucianism prized ancestor worship. The dead never really left. Buddhism imported reincarnation. Spirits were always cycling through. Native shamanism had always treated the body as a port, not a fortress. By the time modern Korea was forming, the cultural assumption was, of course your grandmother can speak through someone. She lives somewhere. Why not there? Now here's where it gets harder. Sinbyeong, the spirit sickness, matches the diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia and dissociative disorder almost exactly. A Korean psychiatrist who diagnoses Sinbyeong faces a choice that no Western psychiatrist faces. Option 1. Prescribe antipsychotics. Option 2. Refer the patient to a senior shaman. Option 3. Say nothing and let the family decide. Most Korean psychiatrists quietly do option 3. Korean medical journals have published dozens of studies on Sinbyeong since 2010. Most psychiatrists, off the record, will tell you the spiritual referral works more often than the antipsychotics do. Your psychiatrist diagnoses. A Korean Mudang diagnoses. They just disagree about whether the diagnosis is medical or spiritual. And in Korea, both diagnoses exist at the same time. In the same family, I have a relative who is a Mudang, a cousin of my mother's. I've known her since I was a child. She lives on the second floor of a building in a city I won't name. Red flag in the window. A small altar inside. A few summers ago, I visited her on a Sunday afternoon. I had just come from church. She opened the door, and for exactly 1 second, her face became something I had never seen. Not anger, not disappointment, something older, something that wasn't her. Then it was gone. She smiled. She offered me fruit. She asked calmly, "Where have you been?" I said, "Just home." She knew. She always knew. Before I left that day, she held my hand and said, "Be careful around water this year." That was it. No drama. No ritual. 3 months later, I went to a beach on the East Coast with friends. A rip current pulled me out past the breakers. I went under twice. A stranger pulled me back to shore. I called her that night. She said, "I told you." And then she changed the subject. In Korea, both worlds exist in the same house, the same family, sometimes the same person. The strangest part isn't that this is happening. The strangest part is nobody in Korea thinks it's strange. Korea is the world's 11th largest economy. It runs on chips made by Samsung, cars made by Hyundai, music streamed from BTS. It has 5G in its subways, robots in its restaurants, the fastest internet on Earth, and every day, 800,000 women in this country go to work talking to ghosts. The country pays them. The country goes to them. The country believes them, even the people who say they don't. That's the contradiction Korea makes look easy. Korean horror is the way it is because of this. Exhuma, directed by Jang Jae-hyun, 2024, earned $93 million globally on an $11 million budget. It runs entirely on Mudang lore. The Wailing, K-pop demon hunters, Train to Busan in a different register. None of those movies could have been made anywhere else. Because in no other country is the spirit world this fully integrated into daily entertainment. You don't escape ghosts in Korea. You hire them. This isn't folk religion that survived modernization. This is the operating system Korea quietly runs in the background of everything it sells to the world. And you've been watching it for years. You just didn't know what you were watching. If your culture has people who claim to speak with the dead or read your future, drop it in the comments. I want to hear about your version. I'm the Anonymous Korean, and this is But Why Korea. I'll see you next time.